Dear viewers, welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic hub, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories, the life of Senator Regina Mundy still hanging on the balance, so to speak, kidnapped in the northwest region of the country in the context of the close to 5-year-long armed conflict sweeping across the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Senator Regina Mundy has been in captivity for close to 2 weeks now, and Ambassador Philippe Van Dam, head of the European Union delegation in Cameroon, says Cameroonians should look for internal solutions to the socio-political and security tensions in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Apart from decrying and calling for the respect of human rights, international and humanitarian laws, he says foreign bodies have little or nothing to do in the quest for solutions to the problems in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. And out of Cameroon, Mali decides to withdraw from the group of 5 Sahel countries, and of course the joint military force fighting terrorism in that part of the African continent. Those were top stories. She's been in captivity for close to 2 weeks now, kidnapped in the northwest regional capital, Bamenda, on the 30th of April 2022. Senator Regina Mundy is still in captivity till now, and no official statement has been made concerning her whereabouts and her fate. And of course, the situation has been attracting condemnation and calls from across the board for her release. Yet she's still in captivity, and the kidnappers have been demanding the release of tens of Anglophone crisis prisoners detained in different incarceration centers across the Republic of Cameroon. Senator Regina Mundy is still in captivity, and life hangs on the balance as information has been circulating concerning threat to her life if the request of the kidnappers is not responded to positively by the government, positively in terms of releasing detainees of the Anglophone crisis. She is, however, not the first official or senior state official to be kidnapped. Several others have been kidnapped before, and their whereabouts remains unknown today. We recall the case of 6 divisional delegates kidnapped in the Indian division several months ago, one of them killed, and the 5 others are still in captivity. The whereabouts, what's happened to them, is not known to the general public to now, and several other persons, including the Northwest House of Chiefs chairman, and of course many others who have been kidnapped, and no official statement has been made to now. And now a civil society leader, Fege Titanjo, says that government should not negotiate the freedom of Senator Regina Mundy, because this will encourage such atrocities to continue in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Take a listen to him in this extract. We invite you to take a listen to...
Not to negotiate, because if the government gets to this direction of negotiating, they will simply encourage other acts of kidnapping. The kidnapping will become more rampant, and the ransom demands will become more rampant. Rather, the government should look for a third party, because there is no trust between government and the separatists. All trust has been lost. That is why the national dialogue was a total failure. There are a lot of associations or institutions that can manage conflict resolution. The government should consult one of these neutral organizations to intervene in this case and save Senator Mundy's life. Our government has the attitude of silence. I don't think it will change with Madame Mundy, because you cannot teach a dog new tricks at the old age. They have used the same methods for 40 years, and I don't see them changing. But I am calling, I'm begging on the government, for the sake of Madame Mundy's life, that they should consult a third party, because I don't see the separatists releasing her at times. It's a good thing to change stand, especially when it comes to saving lives. The separatists have asked for the release of 75. The government can negotiate it down to a smaller number and release them, because some of these separatists that are in the custody of the government are not hardened. Some of them are not hardened separatists. The government can be able to convince some of them to change their stance and release those who are convinced to change their stance and negotiate with a smaller number than 75. If somebody say 75, you can say 10, and you start negotiating from there. I'm really begging the separatists, if they are getting me, I'm begging them to release Madame Mundy. She's your sister. She's part of you. Yes, she's working with the regime. She has been working hard before the crisis started. So should she abandon all what she had acquired because there's a crisis? Those Anglophones in the army, should they drop their uniforms and go hungry, unemployed, because there's a crisis? Those in the civil service, should they resign because there's a crisis? The separatists should think twice. Yes, there is a crisis. The Anglophones are being marginalized. There are other ways of demanding for our rights, not necessarily violent. Violent will not solve any problem.
Society leader Titanjo adding his voice to others to call for the release of Senator Regina Mundy, and responding to Fomi Armstrong Sander in La Verite en face on Equinoxe television at the weekend. The head of the European Union delegation to Cameroon, Ambassador Philippe Van Damme, said that Cameroonians should stop looking out of the country for solutions, because apart from calling and demanding for the respect of human rights, international and humanitarian laws, foreign bodies can do or will do little or nothing in the quest for solutions to the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. He was talking there about the failed Swiss mediation in the Anglophone crisis. Take a listen.
Can't impose an international mediation to a crisis, and there are plenty of crises, including in Europe. You know, we have a crisis in Cyprus which hasn't been sorted out for 50 years. You can't impose a mediation if the parties are not willing to get around the table. So what we have to do all together is find indeed new ways to re-engage this dialogue. Because the dialogue is never finished. The Grand National Dialogue was an important step, but as long as people are fighting, the dialogue is not finished, so you have to continue. I know churches are trying to talk, a lot of people within civil society. I'm amazed, honestly speaking, when I'm meeting people, youth leaders, women leaders, all kind of civil society people, trying to build those bridges between the fighting parties. It's so important to build those bridges, and there are different channels to do that, and each of you has to find out how to do it.
In a wider perspective, Ambassador Philippe Van Damme, head of the European Union delegation in Cameroon, says that boundary lines on the African continent should not be modified, because doing that is a hindrance to the peaceful reconstruction of the continent. And concerning efforts to find solutions to the multiple socio-political and security crises affecting different African countries, he says the EU can only go as far as decrying the violations of human rights and international laws and humanitarian laws, of course, and that much has to be done to ensure that these crises are put to rest. Take a listen to him.
The borders of Cameroon are inherited from the Berlin Conference in 1884. Okay, so we are responsible for the fragmentation of the continent. Fine. Okay. You can make all kinds of philosophical considerations around that. You may regret it or not. The Charter of the African Union says that we are not touching the borders. Because if you open that Pandora box, it's the end of a peaceful reconstruction of Africa. What you have to do is not to reconsider the borders of the continent, but see how within these borders we can promote and strengthen regional economic integration, regional political integration, regional social integration. And that's what Europe is doing. We are in a crisis which is like the Northern Ireland crisis, something which is within the country, and where indeed we can help sort things out. We can call indeed for the respect of human rights, for due diligence, for fight against impunity. We can make public statements, and we have done some public statements, notably also vis-à-vis the separatists, when indeed their attitude is penalizing the populations they claim to protect and to defend, but also when there are abuses on the state's side. We are appealing to everybody to restrain and to respect the international humanitarian principles and the principles of engagement, and we encourage both sides to come to the table of the dialogue. But beyond that, we don't have a specific role in that crisis. You have to find your solution, and we are ready to support and to accompany this solution.
Victims of forceful eviction in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, are decrying what they consider as injustice. The latest case is that of inhabitants of Dikolo neighborhood in Bali, Douala 1 subdivision, where hundreds of houses were demolished on the instructions of administrative authorities for the construction of a 5-star hotel belonging to a Cameroon-born Canadian lawyer. Many of the victims are still stranded and struggling to pick up from the crumbs. From Armstrong Sander reports.
From a distance, one sees a vast area with broken cement blocks and rubbles, abandoned by thousands of families, victims of a forceful eviction. We are at the Dikolo neighborhood of Bali in the Douala 1 subdivision. Now homeless, the families watch helplessly as their houses were brought down by bulldozers over the weekend. Big has been living here for over 10 years, and today he is without a shelter. Big says he has not been given a dime as indemnity, and even a 1-year rent allegedly given to other victims has been refused him. He contacted the Littoral Regional Delegation of Planning and Regional Development, but was told that the rent support to victims is no longer available. He is today compelled to live under this makeshift structure.
For me, Armstrong Sander reporting there now to the Noon Division, where the population took to the streets last week protesting over increase of prices of basic commodities, and bakery owners in Fumbot and Kutaba and the Noon Division, of course, have shut their doors simply because of the situation there, and they have suspended bakery activities for security reasons. Details in this report by Innocent.
Bakery in Fumban, Noon Division of the West Region. Breads and other floury products have gone on a holiday. This bakery and others in the towns of Kutaba and Fumban have been forced to take a leave by the population who stays to protest, refusing not to buy and eat breads that cost over 100 francs CFA. They threaten to protest, lock and burn down our bakeries if we do not reduce the price of breads to sell at 100 francs. One of them told me if I do not sell at 100 francs, they will burn down my bakery. According to one of the bakery managers in Fumban, the protest by the population has been instigated by the rumor of a drop in the price of a bag of flour nationwide. Cost of a bag of flour remains 25,000 francs CFA all over the national territory. So too is the price of bread, 125 francs. It remains unchanged because of the bag of flour sold at 25,000 francs.
C'est pas vrai. Donc la farine c'est 25 000 et Le pain se vend à 125 francs.
These bakery managers in Fumban and Kotaba, due to the chaos and insecurity around their investments, decided to suspend their activities while expecting administrative authorities to take favorable security measures. They should clearly inform the public, and by so doing, we will be able to resume our activities.
De reprendre nos activités.
The protest of the population turned to threats by bike riders stems from hike in prices of building materials like roofing sheets and cement sold in Fumban at 8,000 francs CFA, contrary to 5,000 francs elsewhere in Cameroon.
Minister of Public Health Manauda Malachi reminds Cameroonians and all other persons within the national territory that COVID-19 is not over. During a press conference today in Yaoundé, he urged all to continue respecting the barrier measures. Immaculate Fogwe files in details in this report.
Cameroon's Ministry of Public Health is currently battling to completely eradicate COVID-19, cholera, yellow fever and poliomyelitis. In the course of a press conference that grouped stakeholders including the representative of the World Health Organization, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, affirms that Cameroonians cannot yet boast of being free of COVID-19 infections. According to him, the resurgence of the disease in other countries puts the country at risk, given that its first case was imported.
The date of notification of the first case of COVID-19 in Cameroon, our country has recorded 4 waves of the pandemic. Since mid-January 2022 and the day after Total Energy AFCON 2021, we are going through a period of calm.
To this effect, measures are being taken to guarantee the health security of the entire population.
The health coverage system result put in place has the following measures access: the strengthening of screening activities, the extension of our laboratory network, the intensification of community involvement, the establishment and control of the health pass within the sites, the establishment of vaccinodrome and the creation of additional vaccination sites in the towns hosting the competitions.
Apart from COVID-19, the prevalence of cholera since the 21st of October 2021 is equally causing havoc. According to the minister, 7 towns for cholera to be wiped away across the national territory by 2030, the population needs to respect hygiene rules.
Decided to withdraw from the group of 5 Sahel countries and the military force fighting terrorism in that part of the African continent, and the military junta in power in Mali made this announcement at the weekend, saying that the country is being used by some foreign powers for their own interests in the fight against terrorists in the Sahel zone of the African continent. We're going to be analyzing this in some few seconds. Meet our guest in Talking Point. Our guest in Talking Points today is a Pan-Africanist and a political analyst, and he is going to be joining us to discuss the decision of Mali to withdraw from the group of 5 Sahel countries and the military force, the joint military force fighting terrorists, jihadists in the Sahel zone of the African continent. And this fight has been going on for several years, but the problem has persisted. The jihadists have continued with their activities, carrying out attacks on civilian and military targets and leaving several persons dead in most of the attacks. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Right, so we're having some connection challenges there with our guests. we're having some challenges there with our guests, and we'll certainly be coming back to this in our subsequent news editions. Thank you for staying with us. That's it for today. Goodbye.